Welcome back to our beautiful studio, and we're ready to proceed with the final lecture, actually panel discussion for today. Let's welcome our next speakers with their moderator, Ohad Barzilai, Product Monetization Advisor at JustPlay LOL. Hello, guys. Do we have you in the studio?
Hey, everyone.
Hello, hello. Thank you very much for joining Hamburg Mobile Summit. It's fantastic to have you here. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are everybody on the panel?
Yeah, everyone excited about the panel?
Happy to be here.
Well, we're excited too. So yeah, very much wanting to listen to your panel. Over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So this is the last panel for today and on an interesting subject. My name is Ohad Barzilai. I'm handling the product and monetization aspects at JustPlay, and I'm part of the team running GAMIS, the Israeli Game Developer Association. And more importantly, I'll be the moderator for this session. So it had been a little more than 2 months since Apple released the iOS 14.5, introducing ATT, the App Tracking Transparency. It's been very difficult to prepare to this change. Everybody had a lot of time looking for information and trying to find out what the change will do. And 2 months in, we're still measuring the impact of these changes. And even though there's still many unknowns, there are already some early learnings which we are going to share in this panel. So we have a well-rounded panel here to cover the issue, and I'll let the panelists introduce themselves, starting with you, Kim.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, West Coast time. So my name is Kim Carlson. I run sales and client services for Aarki. Aarki is a mobile DSP with a global footprint. We have a dozen or so offices around the globe. I personally have been in the mobile space for a while, since about 2011. Been with Aarki now for 3 years. So my main goal is bringing in new demand partners for Aarki and also overseeing the retention and growth of our existing customers. Nice to be here. I've chatted a few times about this topic. Just when we think we're getting things squared away, Apple makes some additional changes. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be more to discuss today on a different front. Yeah, good to be here.
Thanks. Christian?
Yes. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. Christian dialing in here from hot summer Berlin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Customlytics. We have our headquarters here in Berlin, and we are a mobile marketing tech consultancy / agency because we also help with the marketing services. And yeah, similar to what Kim already said about herself, I've spent a lifetime already in mobile marketing, really. Joined Delivery Hero in the very early days here in Berlin to help setting up the mobile marketing, and then at some point met my co-founder, and then we decided to leave to start our own business. We're still a small company, 40 people now, and yeah, mobile apps, mobile marketing is at the core of our heart and our DNA, and that's what we love doing. Happy to be here and looking forward to a maybe a little bit of a controversial discussion today.
Okay, Amos.
Hi everyone, I'm Amos. I'm Director of User Acquisition at SciPlay. SciPlay is one of the leaders in social casino and mobile gaming in general. Been here for almost a year, some experience in live operations and specifically user acquisition for multiple game developers. We give like more like the other side of the coin in the iOS 14 discussions compared to Aarki. So I think it should be interesting.
Yeah.
And if not, sorry.
Yeah. So we have people handling these things from both ways. So before we jump into the questions, just a few data points accurate to 2 days ago. So global iOS 14.5 adoption and up 14.5 and up adoption right now is standing on 62%, which is already, we passed the 50% mark, which is already a good thing. iOS 14.6 adoption rate varies widely between countries, which indicates that Apple is actually not rushing to push this out and is actually testing stuff. And the effective tracking rate has increased to 20.8% in general. These are data accurate to 2 days ago from Branch. So we will start. This is a question to basically everyone. So was there a change in the marketing operation now that we are already into the change? Was there a change in the focus or the structuring? How do we structure campaigns and stuff like that? Okay. You can start.
Oh, did you call on me? Sorry. Yeah, so from a DSP perspective, I mean, the obvious situation is the user level and cohort view is lost with scan. The good news is Aarki's models and ML is elastic in the sense that we can still do deterministically attribute campaign level data. So I think the highest level perspective is we're encouraging our clients to kind of double up on the budget around scan, because what's happening is we're staying in a install optimization phase longer before we get to any sort of post install event optimization. Previously, we'd run through that process fairly quickly, but because of the delay and the thresholds with Apple, it's taking longer to get to an event model, if you will. So we're setting up our clients to have them expect that to stay in an install event a little bit longer than normal. Aarki's been actually using our models on LAT testing, if you will, for now over a year. So that helped kind of pave the way for scan. A year ago we didn't think about this. A year ago we didn't know this was going to happen, but we were actually already modeling and testing out on those users who actually went to their device and turned off tracking a year ago or plus. So yes, things have changed. I'd say that about 99 to 100% of our clients with iOS budget are fully running scan at some capacity. And like I said, we're encouraging them to push most of their budget to scan because we want to get through to those thresholds so that the models can work. I'll asterisk this though, and I'd like to open it up to the group here with, if I'm not mistaken, at the Worldwide Developer Conference earlier this month, it was announced that the postbacks now can go to the advertiser. So I wonder, maybe Amos can talk about that. And, it's muddied the water a bit, just in terms of, do we look at MMP data solely, or do we look at a combination of MMP data or postbacks directly to the advertiser?
Okay.
Sure. You want me to address it now or later?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you, Thomas.
It won't be a long answer. It's very soon. It's too soon to tell. For sure, It opens possibilities for us. Possibly, like you said, muddy the water in the cooperation with the MMP. It's easier to have a standalone solution if we choose to. However, there's still, of course, added value that the MMP helps us with. I don't know. We'll see business impacts in the near future. But it is a possibility that we didn't think of in the past. Like we wouldn't build dozens of integrations with direct publishers, but now everything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
The perspective that I can maybe add from our client base to this is what this very recent announcement, Kim, that you mentioned from the developer conference from Apple, will do to the big, if you want to call them like a mainstream players in the market like Google and Facebook, because interestingly enough, this could maybe well, not end, but at least make it a bit harder to continue as they were before with this whole approach towards install attribution. That I just made an attribution. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I think maybe going back to the initial question and adding the perspective of the brands that we work with, because our clients are mainly brands, advertisers that want to run ads themselves, and hence, well, the majority of them, 95+% of them, is working with one of the mobile measurement partners like a Just or Apps Flyer. And they, of course, had some challenges. Well, first up, we had to help them to prepare for the change, which is as simple as, oh yeah, of course, they also need the ATT prompt. We had to make up our minds about how to incorporate this into the onboarding, because as you know, where you put the prompt and how you kind of prime it has a very big impact on the opt-in rates. So that was a big challenge. Also some funny incidents with Apple where they didn't like the string, the text that you put into the ATT prompt for some clients. So that was going on. And then if I would have to name a bigger, very short-term trend that I also think will go away quickly with advertisers that we work with, is that immediately after the launch of ATT and iOS 14.5, I think there was a shift towards of budgets towards Android. But like I said, I think this is going to be very temporary because, well, what will it do? Prices will increase over there, and then people cannot run away any longer from, dealing with SK ad network traffic. So yeah, I think this is a very temporary short-term thing.
Just to add on the original question, so sure, there was a significant change, not only from the UA perspective, but as it was a company shift. First of all, we needed to, to have specific task force to make sure that every business pillar is covered from the privacy side, because we are exposed, of course, to if we won't comply with everything. The focus kind of changed over time. There was like a big turmoil in the beginning, and soon when the dust began to clear, okay, there was a clear roadmap of what we need to do in advance, starting for implementing different SDKs and moving towards changing our campaign structure to support the different limitations. It still changes over time. We respond, we have our current plan, our current conversion schema, and we try to understand what sort of data is coming in and how we can utilize it to still impact growth.
Amos and Kim, did you also see changes in patterns in using Android, for example, trying to get learnings from the Android campaigns and implementing them on iOS?
So first, the market is reacting and shifting more budgets to Android. This is also something that was confirmed working with different publishers and peers. I'm not a big fan of this method of learning through Android and implementing in iOS. First of all, there's such significant impact difference in users, and even sometimes the app is a bit different and the monetization might be a bit different. And more so the models themselves with some of the partners. Let's take Facebook, for example. VO can run differently between platforms because you have different amount of data that builds the model. So I'm not sure that you can even, make this connection between. It doesn't hurt to try, but it's very hard to take it as a fact, as a clear methodology.
Yeah, I would agree, Amos. I think that that it's A and B, right? So transitioning or porting over models from iOS, especially now, to Android it's not really a sound practice. But I will say, just customers that I'm talking to across the globe, immediately, yeah, we definitely saw more budget go towards Android. We're also, I'm sure as you all are too, hearing a lot of price pressure on the self-attributed networks as a result of all of this. So I think it's short term, though. I think since the actual implementation of ATT, I think we're probably in the weirdest part of it right now, just because of what was also just announced this month, June, with Apple. So, I've described several times this sort of U-shaped recovery that we're probably going to go through with IDFA deprecation, and we're probably falling off that cliff now. And as things sort of the mist clears on all of it, it will become we'll claw this back in terms of iOS spend. But yeah, I think that to be succinct, using Android models for iOS is probably not a sound practice, but the pressure is definitely there. I'm hearing from very large publishers in terms of the experience that they're having, particularly with Facebook. So I don't know, Amos, if you want to talk specifically about that, or Christian, what you're seeing with Facebook pressures.
I can't go into details about specific, results and campaigns, but the changes here, we do see it progressing faster in the last 2 weeks than we saw before.
Mm-hmm.
It did develop slower than we expected. And we will need to change our strategy.
Okay, and since this is one of the biggest topics currently the industry is talking about, is the probabilistic approach. So basically, this is fingerprinting, which was officially banned by Apple, but apparently everybody does it, or many does it. So how do you see campaigns done with probabilistic approach and campaigns that are not? Do you see different companies opting not to use the probabilistic approach? And is there a difference in results?
So you have some MMPs that deprecated probabilistic or did not implement probabilistic. So for sure, you have companies out there that cannot use it. I know for a fact that some do. Everyone needs to understand that there are risks using it. First of all, accuracy. The accuracy compared to the old fingerprinting model decreased significantly, and you need to make a decision if it works for you or not. The other factor is that you need to understand that you might need to respond quickly, switching SDKs or changing submission for apps, because maybe one day Apple will decide to own in on it. I think we can all agree that Apple wanted to deprecate the idea of fingerprinting, not specific parameters. Some can argue that logic, but if I need to bet, I would bet that they will close it, shut it down.
I would. Sorry,
go ahead,
please go on, Kim.
Oh, I was going to say we have customers that are doing it. We have some that aren't. I can't speak to the specific percentages. We're very agnostic, so it's really a developer decision. We're not in any way persuading one way or the other. The reality of it is, though, with probabilistic turned on, our standard buying models, previous standard buying models would apply. But these are just facts, right? That if you've got it turned on, which we're agnostic to, then it's business as usual, so to speak. To think more theoretically, why, to Amos's point, will Apple just, will the MMPs change their mind? I don't know. I will say it's quite dynamic with our list of customers, meaning today they have it on, tomorrow they don't. So we're having to keep track of that really on an everyday basis. Christian?
Yeah, like this whole topic of fingerprinting, aka probabilistic attribution. So maybe to get this out of the way, it's kind of the very same thing. I know that the MMPs are active, or I think especially them, are kind of actively trying to get away from the word of fingerprinting, but realistically it's the same. It's just Apple taking more and more stuff away from what you can even or what you're even allowed to fetch as the fingerprint, eventually ending up in a scenario where I think that this is not from a philosophical perspective, this is not something they want to have in the ecosystem anyways. The way that we see it with I think we are living in this interesting spot where our clients, all of them are working with MMPs, like I said, and all of them are, or the majority of them is then also a big advertiser typically. So we kind of see both sides, and I think it's interesting. For me, it feels like this is the one big remaining cat and mouse play of the mobile industry, where it's like Apple doing things, and then I don't know if you remember where the time when there were rejections about one of the big MMPs, I will not tell the name now, about specific specific things they were fetching as part of the SDK initialization, and then there was a big buzz around it, which was yet another I think move from Apple. So very dynamic, like Kim said, and for me, it feels like the last cat and mouse game. But in the end, the big fat Apple cat will win, and I think it's going to go away for, especially in the way that we knew it before.
It's from the history with Apple, it's probably going to be enforced at some point. It's just how and when. So regarding the scan campaigns that we mentioned, I mean, how are they working out? I mean, how conversion values, what types of campaigns we see, a difference in optimization now?
There are still many tests that are ongoing. It's not clear yet what will be the set methodology. In general, what we're trying to do is to test the different conversion events, to validate if it works with our models, our long-term models, and our impact on overall growth. Everything is much more incremental, and by that a bit slower. And in one way, it's kind of like we went through in a time machine of going a few years back. Everything is a bit on segmented on more granular targeting events where we can with campaign limitations, and we try to focus a bit more on upper funnel metrics. But again, everything is pretty much incremental because we don't have cohort views and the understanding of profitability over time. We need to constantly compare it to the big picture and think if it benefits us or not.
Kim?
Yeah, I think I would concur with what Amos is saying. And we, like I said earlier, 99% or more of our iOS campaigns are fully running scan, meaning, to be clear, budget spent on scan eligible inventory only. But it is early, and I think the top of the funnel metric that is the viewability right now. And we still are so early in the game to understand the true, I'll say performance, but how customers will evaluate the performance. I mean, clearly the evaluation of the performance is quite different than what cohorts they're looking at, but we've had good success. Our customers are spending money on scan, and depending on their methodology, what they're looking at, it's going very well. And like I said, we've been buying and using these types of models for over a year because we were previously running it with lap campaigns back as early as March of 2020.
Christine, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think not much to add to what the other two already said. I think going back to the time machine that Amos mentioned, I think we have to be clear that of course this whole SKAd network change is essentially the departure of device level tracking, and if that's if you accept that and you work with that, of course it has a lot of implications, but it doesn't mean that advertising is impossible. It's just less accurate, less granular, less good, I would say. But of course, it's kind of with what are the options? It's kind of SKAd network campaigns, or working in this world is kind of what we are left with. If we want to get that iOS traffic, which obviously we want and advertisers still want. So yeah, for me it's what are the options? So yeah, I'm also on the page of let's see how we can adapt to it and how we can build models around it that maybe then work in the end.
Did you see a change? Did you see a significant change in CPIs?
In the beginning, yes. At least for most of the stuff I saw, it was very expensive in the beginning, but also the campaigns are pretty slow to pick up pace generally. I think then it has kind of normalized out a bit. I don't know how the other two see it.
Kim?
Yeah, I think, well, like I mentioned, campaigns are staying in a CPI stage longer before we get into post-install event because of the threshold. I wouldn't say holistically we've seen increases in CPI. I think it's been choppy, I would say. So it's not, it would be inconclusive. It would be incorrect for me to conclude that CPIs are up across the board, because it actually has been kind of choppy. I don't know, Amos, I know you guys are running scan, so is it just unequivocally a higher CPI?
First of all, I hoped you'd tell us what our competitors are seeing, because I know what we're seeing. It is volatile. There's not like a clear answer. We do see clear decreases in CPMs, which was expected, but IPMs were impacted as well. So the trade-off between both determines the CPI, which fluctuates.
So there's a lot more work on the side of the marketing team. You need to track stuff more closely and make decisions.
The problem is that your decisions are less informed. Let's take a theoretical example. You understand that your overall activity is not doing well, and you need to decide which campaigns to turn off. Not with all conversion schemas, you can catch all of the events that you used to catch, to analyze or to be the proxy for your PLTV models. And sometimes you need to compare two different campaigns that's based on events or conversions that you aren't necessarily sure translates to the PLTV. So it's a very hard decision to make. Doesn't necessarily mean that there's more work, but just the perspective changes. And we need to be dynamic to that change in perspective.
Because it's harder now to correlate between the users that you brought in to the LTV that they produce. So you're trying to estimate.
Everything is still new. Our models, we've built them based on data that arrived from specific models. Like I said before about Facebook, the models have changed. So maybe the data set changes. And we'll need time to adjust. There's still like decision parameters and like factors that we're deciding upon, but we'll need to validate that in the future and see if we need to change them or not.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the only thing that's going to solve that is time, right? Amos, it's early, so PLTV, the old, prior to ATT enforcement, marketers had a pretty clear predictive LTV model if they were sophisticated marketers, and there's no way to get past this until time has passed, so that we understand at the campaign level and the conversion values that are being sent, that we understand the behavior of those, right? So that can only be determined over time. So back to this U-shaped recovery, right? We're going to go down, and as marketers like Amos and others figure out the signals that equal good performance, that's going to just take time. I mean, I guess we could all guess how long that might take, but hopefully by the fall,
just until iOS 15 will be released.
Yeah. Well, what will change that? Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, go ahead.
In general, from a business perspective, again, not specifically to SciPlay, just as a whole, I think actually this benefits the big companies that can afford, that have like more cushion, that if there'll be a decrease, they can still operate with a nice profitability margin, where small developers, medium-sized companies might struggle, for life. And assuming this will decrease competitiveness in the market, big companies will benefit from that. Again, but it also decreases for developers to provide more value for users to share data with them. And we'll see. Nothing is known.
Do you see any change in the usage of the new search ads that Apple is now offering? Apple is now becoming a bigger player in the space, offering more options.
Yes, I won't get into details, but there has been a change.
For the good?
Maybe.
Okay. Kim, Christian, have you had any experience with the new search ads?
Yeah. So where to even start? Well, I mean, the big Apple bigottery of working so hard on data privacy on one side and on the other side excluding themselves from all of that seemingly, and rolling out new advertising options. Well, yes, we're using it for some clients that just want the maximum kind of reach. If you've asked me personally what I think about the mechanic of a search placement that already appears before you have entered any search term, then the answer would be, oh yeah, that must be great. But yeah, it's yet another inventory that became available on iOS, and because available inventory on iOS is short per definition, I think great move from Apple. Some clients are using it. Yeah, like I said, if you ask me personally, I don't think it's a very reasonable placement, but there you go. Waiting for the other placements for them to roll out in whatever other Apple apps.
Regarding Apple, I do think that advertisers need to see if it cannibalizes their organic traffic or just create general growth, because there is the trade-off of limited ad tracking that now is trackable that might be coming from your organic originally, but also it might be from new users, that new placements, like Christian said, new inventory. So it's a very important distinction when you analyze your Apple search traffic.
Elena, are there any questions from the audience, or should we move to the final question?
I think we can move on to the final question for now.
Okay.
Like
so, guys, any last tips, general tips that you can give to developers out there?
For developers specifically, the developers should be more attentive to marketing needs, not because we want to throw wrenches in the system, but sometimes reality forces us to react quickly. So we apologize in advance, but Apple forces us to do so.
Yeah, I think for us, we've just taken an approach to help navigate with our customers through Scan, and we've had, discussions with most of our customers with our product team to help just step by step how to set Scan up for success, and really kind of dig into the weeds in terms of, helping customers understand what needs to be architected for success. So I would just say, work with your channel partners, whether that's other DSPs or networks, to help navigate, because it's complex, and I think we have to be partners in this. And it's, obviously things are changing sometimes unexpectedly. So, yeah.
Christian?
Yeah, I will keep it short. I guess my advice probably more towards the let's say the advertisers and the brands that run ads. Stay calm, keep running iOS ads, and make sure that you stay, flexible about how you do your campaigns. Because if you look at the marketing industry in general, but also the mobile marketing bubble that we live in, things have always changed, and sometimes they're bigger changes, sometimes they're smaller changes. What we have now with ATT and iOS is a bigger change. You have to adapt to it. You have to see, what this does to your campaigns, what this does to your optimization, and then adapt to it. And then there will be more changes in the future, I'm very sure. But I think as long as you stay on top of that and you keep questioning things, then I think you're on a good way.
So to sum up, the biggest tip for everyone is patience. Okay.
And robustness. Like, we need to adapt to changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that, well, obviously only time will heal the whole thing, and we'll understand the behavioral changes. But how much time? I know that you've mentioned a few ideas, but in your opinion, how much time would it take for everyone to adopt to the new reality? Let's call it that.
It's a changing reality. Apple keeps publishing changes all the time, so we don't even know. It's a moving target.
Fair enough. Thank you very much,
Hard
guys.
to quantify. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much for joining us today in the studio. It was a very important question for everyone that you covered up today. And hopefully, yeah, it's going to come sooner than later. Thank you very much for joining, and hopefully see you very soon somewhere off at one of the conferences.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Stay
Bye-bye.
safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.